I'm going to try and keep this video short because I'm not too sure what I make of this yet. But this is about the proposed scrapping of the top rate of tax, the 50p tax rate, in order, allegedly, to help the economic deficit and to aid economic growth. And the argument that George Osborne and the Conservatives have put forward is a good one. It makes sense. I've actually got it here, right there. Osborne urged to drop 50p tax rate to aid growth, and a bunch of business leaders. Let me quickly see if I can get it. Let's say 14. Yeah, right here. Page 14. Something like that. Yeah. Government must abolish 50p tax rate to, what was it? Grow UK economy. Yeah. Okay, that's the letter written by a bunch of business leaders. That's meant to get the government's attention to drop this tax. Right, throw that all the way, because you don't need to know all that, but just so you know. Right. Now, the reason why I don't want to get to, oh, the government's trying to help the rich and terrible things, is because I kind of sympathize for once. I kind of do. I understand, because there's a problem with tax in this country, first and foremost, and the problem is that no one likes paying tax. You must have all experienced when, you know, you get your pay slip, you know, even if you have never worked in your life, okay, even though it's not income tax, but when you buy something, you look at the receipt and you see tax, I don't know, £12 or whatever it was you bought, and the item something, and you think, why did I have to pay that extra bit of tax on it? It would have been so much cheaper. Similar with your job. Why did I have to pay, I don't know, whatever out of my wages this month when I could have earned all this money? And you know, you get that frustration inside. You're like, I wish just for 1 month, or you know, just one day I didn't have to pay tax. Now, for the wealthy, that's actually a possibility. For the wealthy, they can hire an accountant, and the accountant can tell them where to put their money and how to avoid tax, even in some cases legally. So rich people are throwing away their money into Swiss bank accounts, into the Canary Islands, into the Bahamas, and the taxman is just never going to catch them. Never. And that's a problem for the government. That's a real serious problem. So in cutting tax, what they're essentially trying to do is encourage people, first, not to tax evade. So please keep your money in this country. Don't dodge the taxman. Now, I think they're living in a bit of a dream world here, because if my money, you know, if I'm a rich person in this country and my money is locked away tight in a wonderful Swiss bank account or wherever, in a safe haven, cutting it by 10p per pound and saying, please come back to the UK with your money so we can tax you, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave my money in the Swiss bank account and carry on as normal. I'm not suddenly going to go, oh, no, Osborne's trying to reduce the tax, let me bring it all back, bring the millions we stole. Because one, you're probably in risk of getting found out by the taxman for tax evasion, and two, you're not going to pay tax, so it defeats the whole purpose of putting it in the Swiss bank account in the first place. But never mind, on to number 2, economic growth. Now, the argument for economic growth is again quite convincing, because what you have is big business, but they don't want to pay tax. So if the rate is competitive in comparison to international markets, which it currently isn't, it's quite high, then that will encourage more business to come over, and it won't penalize entrepreneurs and enterprise when they try to build their business, because they won't just keep getting hampered by tax. So I make one step forward and then half what I've made comes out in tax, and then I never get to go to the next step. So I understand that argument. Now, if we put it into context, here's where my criticism comes. We've cut everything possible. Public sector, EMA, job, I could go through the list. You know the list, you've heard it already. We've got students going into debt to get education at the moment. That's the situation we have in this country. Now, throw that all in, and then consider that this tax raises between 2.7, hopefully up to 7 billion pounds per year into the economy. Why would you choose now, at a time of austerity, when we're cutting back on everything, to then give that type of tax break and lose that type of money into the economy to the wealthy? I don't quite understand, because although the reasons I pointed out earlier do kind of make sense. So I'm balancing a Libra scale here, so they do make sense. It wouldn't just be this is nonsense and what they're saying is goes straight down here. It would sort of balance the scales a bit, but there's no real evidence to show that. We were told that cuts were necessary to bring down the deficit and restore economic growth. Well, a year on, we have 1 million youths unemployed. Growth forecasts has been downgraded by George Osborne. Growth was, I can't even remember what the figure was now, something like 2.7, 2.5%. It's not going anywhere. It's like the growth of the economic growth in this country is moving like a snail in the middle of the M1. That's how it's moving. So everything's moving fast, and there's just us, little UK, slowly growing but not quick enough, and it looks like we might be heading back into another recession. So we're not getting jobs, the economy's bad, and everyone's been made redundant or lost something because we had to cut everything, and there's no economic breakthrough. So now the Conservatives are thinking, well, we need to do something different. So they've decided to help the people at the top with all the money. It goes back to that, do Conservatives really, want to help this country, or is it just that ideology of we need to help the wealthy and help the wealthy get wealthy and make the poor poor? Or is it just a coincidence? Maybe they are trying to help the economic situation. Now, there's another thing why I'm still balancing this on the Libra scale, because the Conservatives don't seem to be that keen to get in right away, because I've heard George Osborne say it's not going to come in until maybe 2013, 2 years time, and anything could happen in 2 years time. The world could go, I don't know, oil could go down, prices of oil could go down, they could invade another country, and everything would go good, and gold would skyrocket. I don't know, anything could happen. Recession could just evaporate in a couple of days. You never know. But at this present time, socially, forget the economics, socially, when people have lost their jobs, people are losing their benefits, students are paying for debt, is this really the right time for the government to be saying, do you know what, people earning £150,000 are paying too much tax, we're not making any growth, so we need to help them, we need to give them a cut so they can help us bring the economy back on track? Or is it really just another hope in, a stab in the dark tactic, just trying to rebuild the economy somehow, and saying, please don't go looting, running off with all your money away from the taxman and stealing essentially what is government tax. I don't know, but as I said, I'm balancing this one. I'm gonna wait and see what happens. The Lib Dems want to say that they should do it, but they should replace it with something else, which was a property tax. But I don't think that's going to work, because if you do a property tax, it assumes that everyone that owns a property is therefore dodging tax, which isn't right. So, and then of course Labour are going to say, it should go to somewhere in the middle class, families that are affected by cuts. Yeah, you expect Labour to say something like that. But I'm more concerned about the main issue of, is this the Conservatives being Conservatives, being the typical Tories, or is it really that the economy is so bad that we just need to try something new to bail out this economy? And I'm still balancing, so it'd be interesting to see what others think. I really couldn't give a definitive conclusion as to whether it's good or bad. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, but I just wanted to put it out there and see what you guys thought. So holler at me, as they say.